Welcome everybody to the Great Metal Podcast. This is episode 87. We are coming at you from all over the world. Today we've got Just Pete, the magnificent Just Pete, and the Metal Evangelist, right on topic. I don't think you could call this irony, but Shredmaster Scott could not join us today. And as it turns out, what we're talking about is lineup changes in bands.
Metal
bye beautiful. Yes,
falling apart.
We are going to answer some of the biggest questions ever today, like what's better, originality or creativity? What's even the difference? Is the first better than the best? I mean, these are big questions, and we're gonna find them today. We're gonna find the answers without Shred. But just to be clear, Shred is coming back. He didn't get kicked out of the band. He didn't get kicked out of the podcast. Nope. He's coming back. So yeah, anyway, so Pete, how are you doing today?
Excellent. And it's a good metal week. I think I haven't booked my tickets, but I've been looking at booking my tickets for the Dream Theater Devin Townsend Animals as Leaders tour. It's like, wow, what a tour. I got, now I'm hoping this solves some of the issues we talked about previously with live shows, because it's at a venue with seats, and it starts at 5:30 p.m., which is not the middle of the night. So I think, it's good. It's good. I'm hoping
Quality
to just have
a
premium listening experience.
That is what you want, man. Be able to enjoy it. No mosh pits. Nobody's, elbowing you in the back all night. Whew. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you'll have to
that should be good.
Get some pictures of that. Share it with the podcast here. I'm over in Macedonia right now, and I gotta say, when I was in Norway, I saw metal band t-shirts everywhere. I've been here for about a week. I've seen one metal band t-shirt, and it was on like a 10-year-old kid. It was a Metallica t-shirt on a 10-year-old kid. So we need the Macedonians to come out and represent. But I did find a bar that we're going to hit this week. And last month they had a Guns N' Roses tribute band play. And in January, they had a Metallica tribute band play. So I think this bar is like big on the metal stuff. So we'll find out.
That's good. Now, I was disappointed this week because I found out from a friend of ours that he went to a Metallica tribute band in Wolverine.
Whoa.
And they were from Ohio. And he said they were excellent. And I was like, what? Now,
were there more than
listeners, Wolverine is like, I don't know, a town of like 500 people. That's like, like hours away from any town of sizable people. Anything that could be considered a city, you're probably like an hour and a half away max or minimum. So I shocked to hear this, and shocked to hear it after it happened instead of being invited to go along, since it's like 20 minutes from me.
Oh man. Yeah. That's a metal letdown right there.
I'm not naming names here, but you can probably guess who I'm talking
about. Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, we will not pontificate, but we do have some breaking news. So let's hit it.
Breaking.
Oh my gosh. Okay. It did
the metal news.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, probably the biggest piece of news here, Slipknot. This is what the entire topic is themed after today. Slipknot, potentially the most popular metal band on the planet right now, mysteriously decided to part ways with their keyboardist, Craig Jones. They just put up a message and said, he's no longer part of the band. We wish him the best. And then like 2 hours later, they deleted the message. So now nobody has any idea what's going on. Here's Craig, probably the creepiest of all the Slipknot masks. But then they featured a new mask, which everybody is assuming is the new member, which somehow is even creepier.
Oh, okay. Craig's mask with all the spikes coming out looks like he's just trying to keep the seagulls from landing on his head. It is terrifying. But to be honest, it could be him behind both masks. I mean, you can't really tell.
Well, shoot, that's a really good point.
Maybe it's just a publicity stunt.
Craig is on the run, and he's like, "Hey guys, I don't want to leave the band, but we got to say I'm out of here, and then I'll just put on a new mask."
Great idea.
Nobody will know. Everybody thinks I'm in Bermuda, but here I am. I'm still playing with the band. That's a great conspiracy theory. $500 to anybody that can confirm that theory. If anybody can confirm it, let us know. But anyway, Slipknot, they've actually gone through quite a few members. Not all of them have been voluntary turnover. Obviously, Joey Jordison, the drummer, passed away back in 21. But they've gone through, there's 9 of them. It's a huge band to begin with. And they've gone through a lot of different members. And it does beg the question, like, have they gotten better because of rotating people in and out? We will explore that a little bit more here in a little bit. But next news item that I want to get to, this is really interesting. I love this. I wish I could get these up on the side, but Christina Scabbia, or Scabbia, I'm not sure how she pronounces it, lead singer of Lacuna Coil. So she did an interview and with, I don't remember who it was with, but she was talking about women in metal, right? This is a big topic. We've talked about this before, and but she made some really, really good points. I just want to read one of them. So she said, I remember when it started, it would happen that I got a lot of looks just because a lot of people were surprised to see a woman on stage. I got a lot of people maybe screaming stupid stuff at the very beginning, but it didn't discourage me because I think the problem is not mine. The problem is in whoever just sees a woman that is in the wrong place for them. Right. So she's like, okay, yeah, she experienced some, discrimination or, whatever. But then she goes on to say, she's like, what I always say is that it's a question of balance, being a woman in metal, because it is true that women are more judged on their looks. They have more attention if they're pretty. They are more judged if they put on an extra kilo, and nobody cares if there's a singer that has a little bit of extra weight, according to the fact that what extra weight, that's another can of worms that we have to open. And then she says this: we can't deny that there is no good and only bad. In the end of all of it, I think that it's in people who think the wrong way, not really in being a woman in metal or stuff like that. I know a lot of guys that are just fully supportive of the metal scene. They get to look, my screen just loaded and it totally changed it. Anyway, she goes on to say, she's like, hey, listen, there's actually some real positives to being a woman because I can get more attention than a male singer can get just by using my femininity, right?
Free marketing. Free marketing.
And so, I think this is a thing that we miss. It's like when we say things like, we're just judging that person because she's attractive, whatever. That's not inherently a bad thing, right? We do the same thing with men, by the way. It's like if a male is scrawny, we make fun of him. Men want to look big like The Rock or something, big muscles and all this kind of stuff. So we judge men on looks too. And at the end of the day,
different set of standards. Yeah,
absolutely. The particulars are different. But I think what Christina was saying is like, hey, listen, everybody's got strengths. Everybody's got weaknesses. Use what you've got. Right. And I think it's huge because there's no question, like goodness gracious, I would say half of the bands that I listen to regularly are either female fronted or have a lot of females in the band. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
I love the Beauty and the Beast singing style, the feminine and the masculine together. that's so much better than just one or the other. So anyway, I was super excited to see Christina Scabbia talk about it, and not in just like a, oh man, women need to be taken more seriously. She was like, no, I mean, there's strengths and weaknesses there, positives and negatives. It just is what it is. And that's where we're at. So super happy.
I think makes a lot of sense. There's often, and she also basically is like, look, I'm not going to define myself by the people that cause me problems, right? Or she's like, some people said bad things at first, but like, I don't care, right? It's like, I think you have to like, some people they play that so hard. It's like, oh, you're hating on me, and they try to use that to get the attention. I don't know. To me, it's like, let's focus on what you're doing, and what you are bringing, what the unique things you're bringing, whether that's unique to who you are or unique skill or what you look like, whatever it is,
It's a great point. I mean, there's always going to be stuff like we do it here on the show, right? We crap all over some bands that we don't like, but it's not because we don't want them to continue. It's just like, hey, maybe that's not our thing or whatever, right? So it's like there's always going to be people that don't like what you're doing. Don't let that stop you, right? Which is, I think, exactly what you said. So, yeah, good on Christina Scabbia. Everybody go out and buy some Lacuna Coil albums. Let's support her.
And that's why I put Tara leaving Nightwish on the cover and not Marco. Although Marco is very attention grabbing with his looks too. It was also too fresh, too hurt still.
Yes. It's true, Marco. But he's back. He's playing with Taro and one of his other side projects.
Okay. I haven't followed since then. It just was like tough.
It's
the best.
It's gonna be hard to go see Nightwish and not see Marco up there. It's true. Yeah. Well, so speaking of the future of metal, we got this guy's thoughts. James Labrie. His shirt, I think, is Labrie and Loge and Labrie and Svgoli and Pulkkinen. I'm assuming maybe that's a side project he's working on. I don't know. But in an interview, James talked about what bands he felt were carrying the metal torch into the future. And so one of them he mentioned was Polyphia, Tim Henson and crew. And that one doesn't surprise me at all, because those guys, just like Animals as Leaders, those guys are doing some really experimental stuff. Very technical stuff. It's really fun. It can be inaccessible at times, but I could totally see a progressive metal guy like James Labrie being like Polyphia. That totally makes sense. But then he mentioned this other band that I've seen it around, but I've never really listened to them. It's called Architects, and this is a British. I've seen them described as like metalcore, but they get into a lot of different genres. But anyway, I had to look these guys up after reading this interview this week with James. And so I've got a quick clip. Let's check out Architects. This is a song called Animals.
Interesting.
Yes, I loved the dynamic shifts, and his voice is fantastic. High production quality. So I need to listen to more of these guys. If any of you guys listen to Architects, throw out where to start. I think they've been around since like the mid 2000s. But I don't know why James Labrie would be saying that this is the future of metal based off of that one song, but I'm also very curious, and I like what I heard in that song. So
Yeah, it's hard to tell, right, what with a clip,
yeah,
how much what their songwriting ability is, right, when you get a short clip.
right.
But it's interesting in the article he said that I think he said his son turned him on to Architects.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the like what is the next generation being attracted to, right? And
Yeah.
it is a huge part of, so like for him to say like this is what maybe why the future of metal. I don't know. That's a big statement
That
from someone like Dream Theater's lead singer to make. There's two bands, future of metal.
right. Yeah.
the
Well,
the,
that's a
the
great point.
article may have played it up a little bit in the headline. I don't know that he definitively said these are the two only
I know
bands.
it's true. I mean, maybe they were like, "What are
Yeah,
you listening to these days?"
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
and then they presented it as like James LeBrie said these two bands. But that's a great point you make. Maybe what he's saying is like, "Hey, what are the upcoming generations interested in?" And that's very
Yeah,
different than being like, what is the next evolution of metal?
right.
And so yeah, if that's and I could see that, if you look at the most popular metal bands out there, like Avenged Sevenfold, Slipknot, they're not in the tech, they're the progressive metal, the technical metal, the math metal, that's like not it, right? And so because you need like harmony and melody and band, which is why like bands like Polyphia are outliers. Animals as Leader is an outlier. I mean, instrumental progressive jazz metal. You're not going to hear that
No,
on the
yeah,
radio, except
no.
you kind of do now, which is crazy. So
I
I
know.
don't know. I don't know. Well, let's talk about something that we do know. Let's talk about the hot take. Yeah,
Oh,
here it is.
love it.
I think it's good when bands change their lineup. I just said it. I just said it.
Oh,
Now, here's the thing. It's not always good, right, Pete?
right.
You see an example when somebody replaced a band member and it got worse.
Can I give you an example?
Yeah, can you give me off the top of your head?
Uh, no, but
See?
I probably, yeah.
That's my point. It's
But
like
I guess I mean definitely like I've quit listening to bands.
because
I
they
guess
changed their members.
yeah, I think I guess it depends on who the member is. Like I don't know. Has Nightwish released anything since Marco left? I don't think so.
No, they're working on their new album, which will not have Marco on it.
And like Tumos is the leader songwriter, right? So it's like you'd think the music, but it could stay very the same, but it might lose certainly an element of what attracted me to it. So it's like it's not like I wouldn't listen to Nightwish anymore. I just might not be as into the new stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe
that,
I don't
that's
know. Yeah, I'd have
that
to
that's a
see.
it's fair to say because I think what you're saying is, when you replace a band member, it can alter the style, the sound, the
Yeah.
direction that the band goes in. And
Marco
and
had a
that
very unique voice.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
one of the best, man. Just like that
yeah.
Viking. Oh, yeah, is so good. But I can think of a few times when a band member got changed out where, in my opinion, it was a step backwards. So if you look at, well, due to no fault of his own, the Cliff Burton, when he passed away, right? I mean, he was like this prodigy, and then they replaced the Metallica back in the 80s. Cliff Burton
Mhm.
dies, and then they replace him with Jason Newsted. Now, nothing against Jason Newsted, but he largely was just like playing the tonic notes, right? I mean, he was not doing like wild, crazy stuff. Cliff Burton was incredibly experimental, classically trained. And so now it may have improved Metallica's radio ability, right? To go with, a more simple bass line. So maybe that was part of them getting more popular, but certainly and I've been shameless in saying this, Metallica's 80s stuff was way better than Metallica's 90s stuff and beyond, in my opinion. Like, I like it way more. And so, to me, that was really a step back. Now, Robert Trujillo, I don't really know. I haven't really listened to much Metallica. So he might be doing a good job. I don't know. But I feel like it was really not musically, it was a step backwards for Metallica when they lost Cliff Burton, right?
Yeah. Do you think he was? I haven't studied it. Like, how engaged was he in the songwriting versus did the new person's technical ability affect how the songs could be written? You get what I'm saying? Is like, I think some people are members in the band. They're basically just playing what the person wrote, the main person writing it, and they're not contributing a lot to the creative writing process. And obviously, when you change a member like that, like if Tumos left Nightwish, you'd have to ask if there's Nightwish, right? Because he writes like 95% of the music. So, I mean, like, is that sound, that general thrust? I'm really interested to see how the next album changes, because the change from Tara to Annette, like Annette sang on an album that was kind of more written for Tara because it was in a transition process, and then I think they struggled a little, right, utilizing the new singer, and then they got Floor, and like now there was a thing there, but it's like Marco brought a different element, even if he wasn't. I don't know how involved he was. He seemed like fairly involved. Tumos was doing a lot of the writing, but how much did he affect the writing?
Right. No, that's exactly right. I think in terms of Burton and Newsted, I think Burton was writing a lot of his own stuff in terms of like bass lines. Like he was so good. He knew what he could and couldn't do, and he had freedom to do that. I think Newsted, whenever you come into a big band like that, you kind of just want to follow the leader a little bit. You don't want to shape. So I think Newsted was probably, much more like intentionally like, hey, I'll take a back seat. But so a lot of times it's just like the style change, but it's not necessarily a better or worse thing. If you think of like Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth, right? Totally different styles, but in all honesty, like Van Halen musically with Diamond Dave, to me, it was very similar to Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. And I like some of both. And then, but the vocal style of the two, very different. But I wouldn't necessarily say they didn't take a step backwards, I don't think, when they got Hagar. The same with Arch Enemy with Alyssa White Glues replacing Angela Gustavo. They actually are very similar in their vocal styles. They're both grunters. It didn't change the band that much. There was just, oh, hey, that sounds a little different. So, but it wasn't like a negative or a positive type thing. But I would contest that one of the reasons why bands become stale or stagnant in their songwriting ability is because they don't get that fresh perspective from a new member, or maybe it's a new producer. You see this all the time too, right? Bands get a new record label or a new manager or something, and the new producer comes in and says, hey guys, let's try something like this, or let's push in this direction or that direction. They're intentionally trying to like keep things fresh. Otherwise you end up just doing, you end up AC/DC syndrome, and you write one and you just make an album of one song 25,000 times over. And so to avoid that, I think it's really good to get fresh blood in there. And so here's three examples. I have three examples.
Okay, great.
So first one is Dream Theater, right? Now, Pete, do you remember the album When Dream and Day Unite with Charlie Dominici?
Yeah, I never listened to it much, but I have listened to it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're familiar with Dominici's style. I mean, he was like an
Yeah.
80s metal singer, like
Yeah.
the super high pitched vocals and everything. Well, the my issue with Dominici, because I started on the album Awake, and then I went back to Images and Words, and then back to When Dream and Day Unite. And my whole thing with Dominici is Labrie has so much more of a range, and he's got such a depth to his vocals that I don't think Dream Theater could have gone in very many of the directions they went in if they'd still had Dominici. Now, interestingly enough, Dream Theater had Dominici come out and sing on the song "To Live Forever" back in like 2010 or something. It was one of the
Really?
big anniversaries.
Huh.
And so anyway, here's a little clip. Here is James Labrie and Dominici singing. I think this was from 2010.
If I'd started from the top and worked my way down, there'd be no reason to live forever, to live forever. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie Dominici. The starvation has turned me outside in. When the wind has blown me halfway across the world, across the world.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah. And it's not like Dominici's a bad singer, right?
No.
I mean, he was hitting notes, he was holding notes,
Yeah.
but he's got like he just has a much smaller range, and he doesn't like James Labrie has this passion in his voice. I don't know what it is. And sometimes when he sings live now, maybe it's because of the vocal trouble he had, but sometimes when he sings live now, he cuts notes off. He goes to a lower note instead of the higher note. But I mean, he's also like, I don't know, 60 some years old, right? I mean, he's killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But back in the day, his range and his depth was magical, and it allowed Dream Theater to really do some stuff that you might not have been able to do if your vocalist couldn't get there.
Well, that's like change. That's especially if you have people that understand how to write music, and can utilize the tools. I think that's the difference of if you have a 7-string or a 6-string guitar. It's like you have a little bit more options, or the different pedals you have. If you have 10 pedals instead of 5 pedals, it's so the vocalist definitely can be a limiting factor with what you're trying to do. If they're a very small range or not ability to express emotion, even within a range, I think Labrie he's a little unique. He doesn't have a voice that to me is as unique as some people that are just like, no, there's no other voice that could sound like that, right? But he
right.
Some singers, it's just like that's it, right? Like they're not getting another one of those guys, right?
Like Geddy Lee.
But but I think he does have something that is gives Dream Theater a high emotionality in his voice.
Yeah, so. and which matches really well with their music, because their music is extremely dynamic, highs and lows and fast and slow and deep and thick and thin. And, it's like all of this stuff. And so Labrie's voice can match that. So stylistically, it really works together, which is exactly the problem with what you mentioned earlier with Annetta Olsen in Nightwish, right? Like exactly what you said. They wrote this album with Tara in mind, and then at least some of it, not all of it. Like Bye Bye Beautiful was not written with Tara in
Right.
mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Until
I think they were in
after
the
that.
process of writing. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
album.
But
Yeah.
Annetta Olson is like, and she's a fantastic vocalist, but she's more of like she's more like jazzy than she is like metal. And so on Heart Healer, she did a fantastic job on Heart Healer. But with Nightwish is dark and it's epic. And she just
Yeah.
didn't quite fit. So I've got a clip here. This is Annetta, and then it's cut with Floor Jansen doing the same part of the song The Poet and the Pendulum.
And the wine, for it we don't run, we don't ride her torn, apart by chains of hair. The dreamer and the wine, poet without a rhyme, we don't ride her torn, apart by chains of hair. Take me home. Get away, run away, fly away, leave me astray. The dreamers run away, take me home. Get away, run away, fly away, leave me astray. The dreamers run away. Oh, when did you become so calm? Oh, when did you become so cold?
Yeah. The power. You definitely notice the difference in power and in emotionality. I mean, again, Annetta was a fine singer hitting the notes. Although Floor had some higher range.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Man.
I kind of pictured a lot like Annetta would fit in so well like at a lounge, right? Like
Yeah.
if you want to just go to like a jazz club or a jazz lounge or something, oh my gosh, she would be hypnotizing in there.
Yeah.
But then when you're like doing this big epic score of a metal song, it's like Floor just commands that. And
Yeah.
so like and Tuamos even said, he was like he's like, for a while there I was like, Nightwish is done. He's like, and if Floor hadn't joined, he's like, that's what kept it going. And because and
Wow.
I don't know, we met her once, Scott Shredmaster, auditioned for her band back in like 2012 or something, 2010. And she's a big personality, just like very like happy,
Yeah.
big aura, right? And so, and you can just see it when she's on stage. You can hear it when she sings. So she matches that grandiosity of Tuamos's music, Nightwish's music.
Yeah.
And
What
so
you're talking
I
about
think
there's the marketing angle too, not just the actual technical, but like her ability to be a presence, right? And a front, front the band.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. She fits, quote unquote, the band better, and then she can project that out there in a way that, Annetta, I feel like Annetta was kind of like the Jason Newsted of Nightwish. She came in, she was like, hey, I'm filling big shoes. I'll just kind of sit in the back and ride this thing out, and whereas Floor came in and she was like, watch this, and it just something magic happened. So again, Nightwish lineup change, I think they got better, even though some of Nightwish's older stuff is very good. It's very, very good.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Well, that lineup changed, but then like that was the in between lineup, right? And then I would say there's a lot of people who debate was from the original lineup to Floor, or was it better? I don't know.
That's right.
But again,
that's right.
I think I was a little uncertain about that, but I do feel like they've really come into their own with Floor. Like she's now affected the direction of the band and the music versus just being there filling a role.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the exact same thing happened here with my third example. And this one's an easy one, Pantera, right? So we've talked about this on the show before. Pantera started as a glam metal band in the early 80s with Terry Glaze. Great name. Terry Glaze was the singer. And then it was when Phil Anselmo came in the late 80s is when they actually went from, hair metal to like actual metal. And so, I mean, if ever there was an example of musical style changing to fit the vocal style, it's with Pantera. So here is a quick clip of Terry Glaze, and then it goes into Anselmo. Oh yeah. You're not going to have Phil Anselmo doing the high squealy hair metal band singing. It's just not going to happen. So, and again, I like some hair metal, but Pantera definitely improved by, having a lineup change. Terry Glaze, great name. But we needed some Phil Anselmo to get Pantera to walk and cemetery gates and the good stuff. So,
yeah.
So there it is. I mean, I'm a fan of lineup changes. Not always. It can be a negative, of course, but I think it's overall a good thing. That's my hot take. What do you think, Pete?
I think it's good. You can't universally say it, right? But I think it can be a positive force, right?
Yes.
It's like don't give up on the band if there's a lineup change, because there's been a good handful of examples where it's become better.
Yeah.
If not,
and
stayed good.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just going back to Dream Theater, I mean, when Mike Portnoy left and Mangini came, holy moly, was that a thing? And then Dream Theater's doing this like their audition process was so wild. It was like a TV show. It was like, they had like 20 people come in, they recorded it all. They were putting up clips on YouTube, and it was like The Bachelor only for like, drummers for the band. And, I mean, Mangini, I did not know this. Did you know that Mangini, up until just recently, held the record for the fastest drummer on earth? It was absurd. That. Yeah, he had something like it was like 1,072 beats in 1 minute. It came out to be something ridiculous, like 18 beats per second or something. And then a guy beat him like in the last like 2 or 3 years, and he did like 1,072, and this guy did like 1,075. Beat him by like 3 notes in a minute. But anyway, I mean, very different style of drumming than Mike Portnoy. I don't know. Kevin Moore was such an emotional keyboardist, and Jordan Rudess is, in my opinion, not as emotional, but much, much more technical. It's hard. It's hard, right? Yeah. So, but anyway, overall, you heard it here, guys. Pete and Luke like lineup changes. We don't necessarily like it when it happens, but it's generally for the good. We support it happening. So there it is.
Still on the fence about Marco.
Yeah. Yes. That one's going to hurt. It's going to hurt for a long time. We love you, Marco. Okay. Time for the featured band of the day. So this is a band that I was turned on to by my cousin about 10, 12 years ago. Omnium Gatherum, featured because they got a new album out. They're a Finnish, they're like melodic death metal. But why we're featuring them, one, everybody should go listen to them because they're really cool. But also, they've gone through, I think, 13 band members, to the point where
Wow.
only remaining original band member is the lead guitarist. He's the only one.
Wow.
Yeah, several of the founding members are gone. So it's just the lead guitarist. He's still going. Anyway, this song, Omnium Gatherum, this song is called Slasher. Check it out. Ooh,
That's-
one of the meatiest growls. Oh.
Yeah, I like that. I haven't listened to those guys. I should. It does beg the question though, if the guitarist leaves, so there's no longer anybody from the original band, is it still the band? I guess they're playing the music.
That is a deep philosophical question. I think our listeners are going to have to answer that one.
Yeah.
If there's
I'll have to listen
I'm
to
sure
it
there are
and
bands.
answer.
Yeah, there must be bands out there that don't have any of the original founding members.
Oh, yeah.
We should do an episode on that. But is it still the same band? I don't know. Does the band exist outside of the members? Probably, actually. But
I guess the
anyway,
music that was, right? If you're performing the old music, but yeah.
right, yeah. So somebody has the rights to it. It's probably the band. Omnium Gatherum, featured band of the day. Check out their new album, which just came out. Darn it, I should have that up in front of me. But anyway, all right, guys, let us know what you think about lineup changes. Are they good? Are they bad? Fight us on it because we say it's good, but we're open to suggestions. Give us some examples of when it went south. Give us some examples where it made all the difference in the world. And remember, until next time, that the world ends with you. So keep it metal.